In this video, I will explain the basics about the protocols in Projectworx. After logging into Projectworx, you will find yourself in the dashboard. To be able to create protocols, we must first select the project in which we want to store it. To do this, we go to the project area in the main menu. I select the project and open the protocol section from the project submenu. In this overview form, you can find a list of already created protocols for this project. You can see the name of each protocol, on which date it took place, and how many items of the protocol have already been completed if tasks have already been defined in it. Indeed, minutes can be used on the one hand to document topics discussed, and on the other hand, tasks may arise during the meeting that need to be completed by someone. These protocol tasks also appear in the responsible person's task list, just like normal project tasks would, for which there is a separate training video. You can also open a quick view for each of these protocol lines by clicking on the leftmost arrow. The individual protocol items discussed are then displayed directly in the list, with their status, editor, and possibly a due date. You could also open the edit form from here with this icon. I closed this quick view again. If you want to see general information of a protocol, for example the participants, you can open the detailed view of the protocol via the edit link. I don't go into the detailed view of an existing protocol, but create a completely new one to show the whole process. This protocol overview form, like all other forms, includes an action bar at the top where the most important actions are available. We can create a new empty protocol here or create one based on a template. This variant would copy an existing protocol with all its minutes and paste it into a new protocol. However, this is only desired in very rare cases, so we will not go into this in detail. We use the New Protocol button and can make a few selections here. For the protocol type, there is currently a normal protocol and a weekly meeting. This distinction can be used later to list all open items specifically just from weekly meetings. Our protocol is not a weekly meeting, so we just use the protocol type and call it status quo meeting. We are redirected to the detail view of the protocol and find the system assigned number for this protocol in the upper left corner. So it's the third protocol of this project. Next to it is our entered designation. Below we find the information in which project the protocol was created and optionally also for which work package. This is the work package in the Gantt plan. If the meeting is held specifically on a Gantt work package, it can be selected here. Each newly entered minute is then also automatically assigned to this work package. Also, any tasks that might be created here are attached to this work package. Thus, the work package cannot be completed until this task has been completed. And this is an important control function for the project manager. Below there is the date and optionally a time range in which the meeting takes place. In the second tab, you can see contacts that are assigned to the protocol. Which persons were present and to which persons do I want to send the protocol additionally later. You can enter them here in the distribution list. Now we want to capture our first meeting item. This could be an agenda for today with all the topics we want to discuss. At the top, we find again the actions bar for the form where we press the New Minute button. In the input form, we enter a title and we leave the editor field empty because the item does not need to be processed by anyone, it is only for documentation purposes. Below we can see that the project and work package allocation have been automatically taken from the main protocol data. The status is set to open by default. We could enter a due date for the protocol item here, but we don't need that for our agenda item. As a description below, we enter some points. In the top right corner of the description field, you can display a formatting bar that allows you to perform common text formatting. Below that, we find the history section. This displays a history of all changes made for this minute. If, for example, the status later changes from open to done, this can be seen here as a history entry. We will see an example of this in a moment. At the top of the screen, we find an actions bar where we can save the item or delete it if necessary. I click on Save and Close, and we see that the new item is displayed here in the list. Now we create a new minute with the difference that it is now something that needs to be done by a certain person. We enter a designation and select an editor this time. The status remains open and we set the due date manually. As description, we enter a short text and add a screenshot as explanation. This can be easily inserted with copy and paste. We save and see the two items in the list. To the right of the main protocol data, we see that 0 of 2 existing minutes are already done. This information comes from the status of the minutes. Both are open, and therefore the system thinks they need to be set to done by the assigned editor. However, this is only the case with the second element. Therefore, the status open is not really correct for the agenda item. We can easily change the status directly in the list by right-clicking on the item and changing the status in the context menu. Behind each available status is the information whether the item should be seen by Projectworx as something that needs to be done or not. Open, in progress, to be tested are all values that convey that there is still something to be done here. However, if the minute is only an information, there is a separate status, info. And when we select it, the system knows that there is nothing to do here and considers the point as completed. Of course, we could also explicitly set the item to done, but in terms of content this is not quite right, because nothing had to be done at all. In the overview at the top right, we now see that one of the two items is now seen as completed, and only one is missing, namely the second item here. Since we have assigned an editor here, this item is not only visible here within the protocol, but is also immediately displayed in the task list of this person. Here is the person's task list, where the item appears next to the other tasks. You can already see from the number that it is not a normal task, but that it is a protocol item, namely from protocol 3, the item 2. The editor can then open the item and, for example, enter a new note for it. Here at the top of the Actions panel, we find the New Note button. There you can enter a short description if necessary. The editor saves this and sets the item to Done. If we now look at our protocol in retrospect, we can immediately see that these changes can also be seen here. The status has been set to Done, and we can additionally show the notes in this view. At the very top in the View button, we can check the Complete Read View checkbox. Then all the notes that have been entered for it will also be displayed. The system remembers this setting, so you only have to set this once. A minute is therefore not just a text that is stored somewhere in the system, but can also be a task that can be processed immediately by the person responsible, and we can see the current progress of it in the protocol at any time. If we open the details of this item again, we can also see that every change made is shown here in the history. We see the status change and also the entered note. This makes it very clear what happened to each minute and when. To have a little more data for a later example, I create 2 more minutes that get the status open. Once we have entered all the minutes, we can also print the protocol if necessary. The print button can be used to select whether only a single protocol needs to be printed, or minutes from several protocols, for example, all open elements of all protocols. At the bottom there would be more filters. You could print only certain notes, etc. Usually the default settings can be used here. To the right you can decide which information should end up in the printout. We would like to export the editor and the due dates as well. We will then receive a PDF like this. But you don't have to print the protocol beforehand to send it manually by mail. There is an automatic function for that. At the top of the Actions menu, we find the entry Send Protocol. This will create a PDF with the protocol content and send it to all deposited persons. You could manually add more or remove individual ones. Optionally, you can add a message that will be displayed in the email like this. Below that, some columns can be added or hidden, just like in the printout we saw earlier. We leave all other layout options the same and click OK. Shortly after, all recipients will receive an email like this one with the description text entered and the PDF attached. These were the basic functionalities in the protocols, and I would like to show you some advanced features as well. A very important feature of the protocols is that we can refer to topics that have already been discussed in a previous meeting. I'll show this in a quick example. I open up a project. In here I create a new protocol. I'll just quickly capture 2 minutes to go over in the new meeting. Now comes a third minute, and in here I would like to pick up a topic that was already discussed in the last meeting. To do this, I now use the New Addendum button and select the item from the last protocol for which we now want to add new information. I filter in this column for the last protocol number, find the existing minute, and then click OK. Now only a new note opens and not an entire minute. The reason is that we just want to add a subsequent info to an already existing minute, and not create a separate item. We enter the subject and the details of our new insight and click Send. We now see in our new protocol that the minute of the first protocol was added with all its previous notes, and also our new note that we entered for it in the new protocol. Thus, in every protocol where this topic has been discussed, the entire history for this topic can be seen. We are always informed about the entire status of this topic throughout all protocols. For example, if we open the first protocol, we can also see there that something has been added to this topic in a future protocol. These subsequent notes to existing minutes can be created individually, as just shown, or I can import multiple minutes from previous protocols into my current protocol. At the top of the Actions section, we find Import Minutes. I select the desired previous protocol and can now decide which items from it I want to continue working on in my current protocol. I choose All Open Minutes here. Here at the bottom we find the checkbox Import New Minutes as Addendum to the original minutes. This is active by default because, as in the previous example, we want to add new information to an existing topic. If this was deactivated, the item would be copied one-to-one to the new protocol as a standalone item with no connection to the previous protocol, and we don't want that in that case. Now those 2 minutes that were still open from the first protocol are imported, and each of them gets an empty note. You can now go through these and add any new information that has come up during the new meeting. So we are done with our protocol and go back to the overview list. Even if there are already a lot of protocols in a project, it is quite easy to search for specific topics. If you know, for example, that the topic you are looking for was about a specific term, you can simply enter the text here in the search field at the top right. All protocols are listed in which there is an item containing the text. And here we can again expand the quick view to see them in detail. This search line in the list itself searches only for contents of the protocol fields, which is the main data. Content within the minutes cannot be searched here. For that, there is the search box we just saw. But I could filter out all protocols with the type weekly meeting, and of these only those that are before a certain date. The date filter normally filters for the exact same value, but you can adjust this very easily by clicking on the filter icon and changing the filter to is less than. This works the same in all lists in Projectworx. Now this was all the information you need to work with protocols in Projectworx. Thank you very much for watching.